What if I told you that there was just one question separating you from the best year of your life? And what if that one question could take everything that you've been dreaming about and turn it into reality? So many of us spend our lives chasing goals that aren't truly ours. And by February, we're stuck in the same old patterns, right? We make these we make all of these ideas and goals and we write them down and we buy a new planner. And then what happens? By February, we're stuck because we revert back to what naturally feels good. But this one question, it's so different. It's extremely powerful. And today, we're going to uncover it together. So, why would this episode matter to you at the beginning of a new year? I'll tell you why. Because the new year has a magnetic pull on us, doesn't it? It's like the reset button that we hope for, we search for, but it's also like the reset button for our soul. We want to refuel. We want things to feel newer and different. We want to feel this energy of a new year ahead of us. And we almost always want the new year to be far better than the year that just passed. I don't know about you, but I'm quite happy to leave this past year in the past and move on to newer, better opportunities, things, designing my life the way I truly want to live it. The problem is that we waste the time. We waste the first month of this year thinking about all the things that we want to do instead of actually acting on it. We make these resolutions, which by the middle of February, they're probably gone. And the reason for that is because we try really hard. We try to stick to the diet. We try to stick to going to the gym. We try to make it a habit. But the moment we are sidelined, the moment we get a little bit off course because we had a party to go to, or we went out for dinner, or we didn't get up on that one morning because we didn't sleep very well the night before, that tends to turn into the next time and the next time, and then we get completely off course. So what if this time around, in this brand new year, what if you did things differently? What if we looked at this in a whole new way? What if I could show you that by answering this one big question, it would change the way that your year would unfold? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a Mindset Medicine podcast. It's a new year. Happy New Year. If you are listening to this a few months down the road, that's okay, because there's always time to reset and start your year again. It doesn't have to be January 1st. Maybe you're listening to this on June 1st. It doesn't matter. There is always time to restart, respark your energy, and basically just continue, right? It's okay to stop where you are, pause, look at what you've been doing, realizing, hey, this actually isn't working for me, and then look in a different direction and go that way. So this is the podcast where we unlock clarity, confidence, and strategies to help ambitious individuals like you create a business and life that you love and success on your terms. And I think that these are words that you wouldn't normally hear many other successful, whether we call them gurus or coaches or speakers or thought leaders. They're not really going to tell you this because they want you to align with their way of thinking. What I want to do is I want to help you develop your road, your path ahead based on who you are and what you want to change and what you feel you need to change. Because in order to move to the next level of who we are and our potential in this world, first you have to be a little self-aware and understand what are the things that haven't been working and what are the things that are, and how can I keep making those stronger and better? And asking the question, what don't I know? Right? We only know what we know. So, what is it? Where are the gaps? Where are those blank spaces, the white spaces that we need to fill in order to make this next year one of your best? So, if you are ready to transform 2025, I am Katharine Loucaidou. I am your clarity coach, your business coach, but most of all, mindset. Let's shift it to get you where you need to go this year. So, what is this question I keep referring to? What is the question that will transform your year this year? And it's not what is your resolution. Here's what it is. If 2025 were the best year of your life, what would need to happen for that to be true? I'm going to tell you one more time. If 2025 were the best year of your life, what would need to happen for that to be true? When I first asked myself this question, what would need to happen for this to be the best year of my life? It almost feels too big to answer. But here's what I did. I just wrote down the question on a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper. I gave myself quiet time to think, really go deep and think to myself, what would need to happen for this to be the best year of my life? So here's what I wrote down. I want to build something that aligns with my values, gives me freedom, brings me joy, doesn't feel like work. And what happens is that clarity, as I created this list and how it unfolds, is what is the foundation of everything that I have been building. Because it becomes the roadmap. First, it looks really messy, and you have all these ideas in front of you. But what happens is, as you think through each of these ideas, everything starts to become clearer. I don't only ask myself this at the beginning of a year. As the year progresses, I begin to ask myself, if this is going to be my best year ever, for example, an opportunity comes my way. Will this opportunity answer that question for me? Does this opportunity lead me to creating the best year of my life? And the answer is usually yes or no. You'll know right away whether it fits into your roadmap that you've created for yourself. The problem is that sometimes we start saying yes to opportunities that aren't taking us in that direction that we've already said we want to go. And we wonder why at the end of the year, we're not where we want to be because we were taken off course, because we didn't continue to ask ourselves this question for every opportunity, for every event that occurred, for every person that we met that wants to network with us. If you continue to ask yourself this transformative question, what will happen is you start to make better decisions for your life. You start to go down the road of designing your life, this life that you have imagined in exactly the way you want it to happen. You don't get off course. So asking yourself, does this opportunity support the path that I am on and where I want to go? All right. So I would love if you are on your phone right now and you are making notes as I talk, write this note down. Does this opportunity support the path that I'm on and where I want to go? Keep asking yourself that for every opportunity that comes your way. And I promise you, at the end of the year, you will be exactly where you wanted to be because nothing will have diverted you, knowing very clearly where you want to go. And that is how I help my clients get very clear. That's why I'm a clarity coach. I have an innate ability to be able to look a few steps ahead, usually quite a few steps ahead, and understand, well, if that's where we want to be, well, now let's reverse engineer that and create it for you. Let's design your life. Let's not let life happen to you. Let's let life happen for you because it's the way that you wanted it to happen. So, most people set goals based on what they think they should do. And I've talked about this in other podcasts previously. Instead of thinking about what should I do, frame it in what do I really want to do? We're not trying to fix last year's mistakes. They happened, they're over. What we want to do is create a future that is so compelling, that is so captivating to you, that you want to wake up and pursue this list of ideas that you have created now. So, for example, I was having a meeting with an entrepreneur last week, and what I said was this: you need to create a social media strategy. But what we want it to be, we want it to be fun for you. Because if it feels like work, you're not going to follow through. You're not going to be consistent because you're going to get tired of it. But what if this could be a way of incorporating your life into these videos that you want to do, into the posts that you want to do? You are now revealing more of who you are in your messaging, but you are also branding yourself. And this is really what branding is. It's letting the world know who you are, your values, the message that you're trying to show the world, but you're going to do it in your way. So rather than having that word, but this is how I should do it, how about how do you want to do it? And now let's incorporate that into the current trends going on. This year isn't about someone else's expectations or society's definition of success or social media's images of success. That's not what this is about. This is about designing a life that feels true to who you are. The problem is that sometimes we're not even sure. Sometimes we're not even sure who we are. Sometimes we're not even sure what we want. Sometimes we don't even know what makes us happy. Have you ever been in that situation? I know when I have sat down with entrepreneurs and people in business, and I have said to them, what makes you happy? Huh, it's a hard question to answer for them because they know what makes them unhappy. They might name their kids. My kids make me happy. Going on vacation makes me happy. Well, if we were to talk about work, what part of your work makes you happy? And how could you design your business to do more of what makes you happy? What would that mean for you? Would it mean that you need to leverage yourself and find other people to fill in for the skills and the tasks that you don't want to do? Would that mean that you spend more time working on what you love and making sure that you time block the time for those other tasks that need to get done, but allow you to shine where you truly shine? We all face moments where we need to take a step back and recenter ourselves and ask ourselves these questions. What makes me happy? What am I good at? What do I want in my life? What do I want for my life? But what makes the question that I asked you right at the beginning, if this were going to be the best year of your life, what would need to happen for that to be true? The importance of this question is that it taps into the way that we are wired as human beings. And let me explain a little bit. So, there is a theory that psychologists call the self-determination theory. And what it does is it taps in to these things that drive you in life. So, it taps into your motivation. Autonomy. Autonomy is your ability to make choices that align with your values. Then it taps into your competence, that sense that you feel capable of achieving your goals, which is how we feel at the beginning of the year. I'm going to do it. This year is going to be my year. This year, I'm going to make it all happen, right? You have the competence, you know you do. So, where down the road during the year does that start to get weaker? Where do you start to feel like you start losing that energy that you had day one of a new year? And finally, we have connection. This desire to feel aligned with the people and the purpose that you've created that is around you. So, once again, if 2025 or whatever year you are listening to this, if you are listening to this in the future, if this were to be the best year of your life, what would need to happen? This actually isn't just a question. It is a mirror to yourself and what you want in life. It is a map that will guide you down the rest of your year. And it is a magnet for your energy to, to show the world that you have this renewed sense of energy and you are ready to actually follow through, because now this is your goal and your map. I'd like to break this down a little bit for you so it becomes clear to you in how to do this. Okay, so we are going to start with, what would you want less of in your life? Most people can answer this pretty easily. So, subtraction. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to write down 3 things that you tolerated last year. Tolerated. But you actually don't want to carry on into this year. 3 things you tolerated last year that you do not want to carry on this year. Ask yourself, why did I tolerate this? And what would my life look like if I removed it? Why is this important to you? Our brains are actually wired to continuously add more, not subtract from our life. We think that piling on more commitments, piling on more appointments, adding more tools, adding more strategies will solve our problem. We tend to go we tend to go wide in our life by adding and adding and adding rather than going deep. Deep means doing less, doing it better, and doing it more focused. How do we do this? Well, the law of subtraction. I know there's like a law and a theory for everything, but believe it or not, This is how psychologists have understood how the human brain works. And if we understood how our brain works, we would understand how we could reprogram it, how we could shift it, and how we can actually go after what we want and get it. Isn't that the point? Going after what you want and actually getting it. So, when we remove things that are unnecessary in our lives, we actually create clarity and focus. Think about it like this. Have you ever purged items from your home? Have you ever done that spring cleaning of your closet? There is something so fulfilling by getting rid of things that you no longer need, that no longer serve you. What about simply going into a room in your house that has been overcome by paperwork or files? Maybe it's your office, maybe it's your dining room table, but you know that maybe you have someone coming over, maybe you have a guest, maybe you have to have a meeting, whatever it is, you've come to the end point of what you can take, of what your desk or the table or a room looks like. You go in there, you tackle it, and then you stand back and you see what you've done. There is this feeling like, whew, I feel airy. I feel like a weight has fallen off. That is the theory of subtraction. When you finally have that clear space back again, you can see what's worth keeping, what you need to throw. Sometimes you actually look at what it is that you're throwing out and you think to yourself, why have I hung on to that for so long? Now imagine you do this everywhere in your life. Imagine you look back to last year and you look at all the things, the people, the events, the opportunities that you tolerated. And what would happen if you were to start removing those things from this year? I won't attend that event because it really didn't add anything to my life. I won't have all those people in my life anymore because really, I feel as though they added more stress than they provided me joy. And you just work through that. Now, there are times where we can't remove everything, obviously. But what you can do is those are the things that you can then go and focus on. Maybe it's just a shift in your perspective and how you're looking at your situation. For years, I have done things that I thought I should do. I should be recruiting more people. I should coach in a certain industry because that's what's expected. But what happens is when you start letting go of the shoulds and you start asking yourself, but is that really what I want? Is that what lights me up? Is that the life design that I've created? Is that included in it? Well, no, it's not, but I'm just doing it because I feel like I should. Stop doing that. Because when you start doing what you really want to do, that's when everything's going to start falling into place perfectly for you. So now let's go to the opposite. What would you want more of in your life? Fulfillment doesn't come from chasing more. It comes from identifying what truly energizes you. Let's talk about amplifying everything that's good. Let's talk about amplifying everything that has been working for you. So here's what I'd love for you to do. Write down 3 things that have brought you joy, growth, or meaning last year in your life. 3 things that brought you joy, growth, or meaning last year. Now, I want you to ask yourself or write this down underneath. How can I amplify that this year. We're not asking you to take time off work unless you can afford to and go and travel and do these things. Most people have to work. The question is, how can you amplify your joy, your growth, and your meaning, also incorporating your work into it? Could you do your work in a different way? Could you approach your work in a different way? Could you think about work in a different way? Sometimes, actually, not sometimes, more often than not, it is our perspective at what we're doing that is wrong. And I say the word wrong because if we were to shift our perspective, we may not be as negative as we have been. So you may say, I hate my job. Okay, I've been there. I understand that. But if I know I have to work in that job for the next few years or until I find something else, then what I need to start doing is, what parts of this job do I like? What are the parts that I don't, and why is it that I don't like them? Is there another way that I could be doing it? Is there another way that I could be looking at this situation? So often, we want to be our own cheerleader for our negativity, but that's not going to get you anywhere. So rather than being your own cheerleader for your negativity, how about we flip it and you become your cheerleader for being positive and flipping the way that you've been seeing something and look at it through a different lens. Sometimes that's really all that's needed. You just need to look at it in a different way. And that is why so many people hire me to coach them, because I'm able to help them flip the situation and look at it in a different perspective. Whether it is their home life, whether it is a relationship, whether it's work, it doesn't matter. When you can see things through a different lens, they will look different, they will begin to feel different, and you may start aligning yourself now with those three things that you want: joy, growth, and meaning in your life. Think back to something new that you were excited about last year. Something that maybe it was a promotion. Maybe you got a new client. Maybe it was buying a new house, a new car, something, a big purchase. Maybe it was just starting a new habit. You were excited about it. But then what happened? At first, it feels amazing. And you think to yourself, oh my God, I love this feeling. This is so great. I'm so happy. I feel joy. But then it slowly starts to wear off. Not because you failed or got bored, but something called hedonic adaptation. You actually get used to the idea of having this initial positive feeling. And you also get used to the idea of that positive feeling fading away. Our brains are actually wired to adapt very quickly and avoid being overstimulated. Think about this for a second. So, have you ever had a really good thing going? The diet's going really well. Your relationship is going really well. And then something happens, or you create the something that happens, and you go and you eat the donut. You go and you eat the slice of pizza. It's not there in month one on your diet, but you do it anyway. Because we have this way of interrupting positive things that are happening in our life. And of course, the downside is that we stop feeling the joy and the meaning and the growth. We revert back to the old patterns that we have already created over and over. And then we're back to square one. So what I'm asking you to do is to outsmart this behavior of yours. Outsmart the patterning that's been going on. So if you can intentionally focus on what brings you joy and you deepen your connection with it, you can actually stretch it to last much longer so that it no longer is just a novelty, but it becomes a ritual or a practice that you do. Let me give you an example. So in 2020, I bought a car that I have loved for a long, long time. I've always loved a Range Rover. I got this Range Rover. I was elated. I love it. I loved it when I got it. But guess what? Today and other days when I drive it, I will get in and I hold my hand on the steering wheel and I will pat the dashboard and I will say, girl, I love driving you. I haven't lost the feeling because I have been intentional to remind myself how blessed I am to be able to drive this car that I have loved for so long. Sometimes we need to do this to remind ourselves that we are blessed and that the world isn't a terrible place and that not all human beings are horrible. When you find yourself feeling vulnerable, or you're feeling down, or you're feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me again, I want you to stop and I want you to notice what starts happening next. Good things will happen. But if you cannot get out of this negative, murky pond that you sit in, you will not notice the good things happening around you. I've now been doing this podcast for 4 years. And at the beginning, I feel like there wasn't too much emotional connection that I felt with it. I did it because I thought it would be interesting. It was an experiment. Will anyone listen? Is there anyone out there who's listening? This is what I was wondering. As I have evolved over the years, I now know that there are people out there listening, and they are in 34 countries. Thank you for listening in with me. Thank you for spending the time with me. But here's what I realized. I actually love doing this. And, I have an assistant and I've had other assistants over the years, and they said, well, why do you have to make these episodes so long? You know what? If we were sitting down together over coffee and I said that this was a 30-minute coffee, I'm not going to just stop talking at the 30 minutes if we're having a really great conversation, am I? If I feel as though there is nothing else for me to offer, I will stop recording. But until I feel like I've got to that point where I've offered you something that will help you, as if we are sitting here together in a living room, over a coffee, in a kitchen, then I'm just going to keep talking to you. The moral of the story for amplification is open your eyes, notice these beautiful things of joy, of growth, and that have meaning to you, and try and amplify those. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and find more. They're probably right under your nose, but you've been feeling so negative that you haven't actually noticed. So what I'm asking you this year is to start noticing what is right under your nose. And how can you bring more joy with what you have in front of you? So once again, what is the one thing that you will start letting go of this year? I would love if you could share it in the comments right now. As you are listening right now, write down for me in the comments, what are you going to let go of this year? Because you know it's going to bring you more joy if you do. I love hearing about your bold moves. So, talking about bold moves, we are moving on to our last segment now, which is what is the bold action that you are going to take this year? Bold action, bold moves. I love the word bold because To me, it means that you are going to move out of that murky comfort zone that you've been in, possibly a little negative, possibly looking at the world through a lens where you feel like you're just not moving forward. Well, we're going to shift that and we are going to become bolder this year. And we're going to break this into little steps for you so that it is easy for you to commit to over the next 7 days as we do this. So, why does making bold moves matter? I have a newsletter, by the way, and this is just a little plug for you because if you don't know that I have a newsletter, I'd like you to head over to my website, sign up for it. It's called Bold Moves Newsletter. And what I do is I give you little bits of insight in things that I'm doing, moving you forward. I give a little bit of AI prompting to help you manage your life and your world. I think you'll love it. So head over to my website, katharineloucaidoucoaching.com, and right at the bottom of page 1, it says sign up for the newsletter, and you will just be automatically added. So why do bold moves matter? Why do I love them? Why do they feel so risky? And it's actually because of how our brains perceive reward and fear. So we have this loop going on in our minds. And what happens is when we take a step forward and we start to see that the action is working, it creates competence in us. We are competent enough to make the first step. When we realize that first step is going really well for us, that then gives us confidence. And this becomes this loop that goes round and round because action builds competence, and competence will boost confidence, which will create these beautiful rewards unfolding in front of us. I have made a lot of bold moves over my life, a lot, right? Leaving Canada when I was 22, moving to the island of Cyprus, not knowing the language, by myself, $700, that was it. Going to a job that I had already accepted, that I didn't know what would happen, and then having to figure it out from there. And then making bold moves while I was there. I'm one of those people that I have a hard time fitting into the status quo of what I'm being told I have to do when I don't see any practical or logical reason as to why. So here's something absolutely silly that I remember, but I felt so against it. So people kept telling me when I lived in Cyprus and I was young, right? I got married at 24. My husband and I were dating from 23. Yeah, that's right. The timing is right. And so I was told, you can't go in and paint your walls a color. We don't paint colors here. Everything is white. And I was like, well, why? Well, that's just how it is. Okay, well, that makes no sense to me. Why can't I have walls of color, blues and yellows? Because at the time when I lived there in the early 90s, that's what we were doing. We were painting our walls colors. And they said, no, no, you can't do that. White walls. So, well, what did I do? Yes, I went out and I bought bright colored paint and I painted our walls. And it made me feel good. And I started learning from a young age. If it's not logical, and it doesn't have to be practical, but if it's doable, why not? And I have literally carried that throughout my life. That is one thing I know about me. If it doesn't make sense from a logical perspective, if it's just because it's what you think, well, then I'm not going to go with it. I started doing video before most people were on social media. Why? Because it made logical sense to me that if I didn't want to send out direct mail to people and I didn't want to cold call people, which I hated, The only other way I could get into their living room was on their phone or on their laptop. And the way to do that was through video on social media. So I created an entire branding strategy based on that. Now, here's something really interesting. I had a call with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they said to me, well, I'm not you. I'm not a brand. Well, hang on a second. I wasn't a brand either before I created my brand. So before you decide whether you should or shouldn't make a bold move forward, ask yourself, will this bold move me closer to my goal? Will this bold move me closer to this life I am creating by design? And if the answer is yes, then you should make the bold move. And if you're not sure what that bold move looks like, that's why you hire a coach to help you figure that out. So here's what I would love to finish off with as we go further down. I'm going to give you some strategies. So here is strategy number 1. I want you to reframe any fear that you have that surrounds making a bold move. Okay? Are you ready? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to start asking yourself, which is typically what we say to ourselves. What's the worst thing that could happen? Right? That's usually what we say. What's the worst thing that could happen if I do this? And then our mind goes into overdrive. And we start literally thinking about all the worst things that could happen. However, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reframe this and start asking yourself, what is the best thing that will happen? What is the best thing that could happen if I make this bold move today? You know what's going to happen is you're going to surprise yourself. You are going to be shocked that your mind will start telling you, well, for example, myself, if I start the podcast, well, what's the best thing that could happen? Well, people will listen. And what would happen? Well, then my visibility will grow. I will impact more people. People will begin to understand that I'm here to help them. Right? There's this beautiful subsequent events that happen like a domino. So the next time, which is probably now as you're listening to this, and you want to make a bold move forward, instead of asking yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Ask yourself, what is the best thing that could happen? And start making a list of all the amazing things that could happen if you follow through on your next bold move. So here are a few strategies to help you answer that question in how you can make this your next best year. And what would have to change? What would you have to do to make that happen? Journal, write. It has been proven that if you can just start writing or dictating into your phone notes about reflecting on this question that I've asked you, that is how you will get closer to your answers. Use prompts for yourself, like what moments of last year felt most aligned for me, and what moments in 2024 felt like they were draining me, and what did I learn? Then I want you to start focusing. This is number 2. I want you to prioritize. I want you to start focusing on the 20% of what you do that's actually driving 80% of your results. There is a principle, Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. I'm sure you've heard of it, where 20% of what you do is actually getting 80% of the results. So I would like you to start figuring out what is the 20% that you are doing that is giving you some really great results. And you're going to go all in on that 20% even more. You're going to amplify it. Next, we're going to commit. Commitment works best when it's public. So share your bold move with your partner, a friend, a colleague, someone that you trust in business, or Post it on social media. Share your bold move. This is what I plan on achieving this year. Hold yourself accountable. And finally, this is one of my favorites. So here's what I want you to do right now. Stop whatever you are doing. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine it is December 2025, or whenever you are listening to this, it is the December of the next year. 1 year has passed. You are looking back on the best year of your life. What did you let go of? What did you embrace? What bold actions did you take? Can you feel the success? Can you feel your joy? Can you feel your growth that happened this year? Can you feel how meaningful this has been for you? It's really important that you do that visualization 1 year ahead. And I want you to really feel it. You're waking up on December 31st and you're looking back on the year that's just passed. What happened? What did you get rid of? What did you add? What brought you joy? If you can figure that out now, then that is how you're going to create your year ahead. So today we have talked about that one question that is going to shape your next year. If 2025 or the next year that we are now in were the best year of your life, what would need to happen for that to be true? You know, I would love for you to share your answers with me, either on my Instagram, Katharine Loucaidou Coaching, on my LinkedIn, Katharine Loucaidou, on Facebook, Katharine Loucaidou Coaching, wherever you find me. If you're watching this on YouTube, write in the comments the answer to this question. If this video has resonated, please share it with someone who you think needs to hear this. Subscribe and like. It's how I know that I am helping you, especially as we move into a new year. You now have everything you need to make 2025, or whatever this is the year that you're listening to this, let's just say 2025, your best year ever. It is going to be your boldest year. It is going to be your brightest year. You are going to have energy and you're going to make it last all year. Why? Because you now understand that is all in your mind. You will create your best year ahead. This one question that we talked about today is your magnet, is your roadmap. It is your muse into making this your best year and your starting point. If you are ready to take all of this to the next level, if you are ready to make your life truly the one that you have been imagining and hoping for, book a clarity call with me, because we can fast forward this process so that we actually make it all happen. So whether the clarity is around your branding, whether the clarity is on lead generating, whether the clarity is on your road ahead, whether it's what should my bold move look like, or maybe you are stuck in a gap between where you have been and where you want to go, and you're not sure how to create the bridge over the gap. That is my specialty. I will help you build that bridge to move you from where you are to where you want to be. And we are going to fast forward the process. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Happy New Year. I am so happy to be going into this new year with you, and I hope that you will follow me along as we talk every week about insights and strategies. I'm going to have more guests on this year so that you can learn from what other people are doing in their lives. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Mindset Medicine. Remember, every step you take toward building a resilient mindset and creating harmony in your life will get you closer to your dreams and that transformation that you've been looking for. If today's episode hit home for you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback is our fuel. Spread the love. Share this podcast with friends and family. Tag me on Instagram at Katharine Loucaidou Coaching. And if you're looking for more tips and resources, head over to KatharineLoucaidouCoaching.com. Stay connected, stay inspired, and keep living your very best life with harmony and purpose. And until next time, my friends, live boldly with purpose.